What if sanctuary wasn't just a place, but a way of living? Welcome to the Sanctuary Network, your weekly home for conversations that awaken the heart, heal the body, and inspire the spirit. I'm your host, Mary Ellen Popyk, the creator of Spirit Fest and the Natural Wellness Expos. For 2 decades, I've been creating spaces, now creating a bold new broadcast for mind, body, and spirit, where seekers, healers, and teachers come together to share wisdom, laughter, and transformation. We've seen what happens when communities gather. People become enlivened. Now, through the Sanctuary Network, that same spirit is reaching you, wherever you are in the world. Each week, we'll sit down with thought leaders, authors, and everyday visionaries. We'll also shine a light on the grassroots voices of the sanctuary marketplace, the healers, vendors, and practitioners who make this movement thrive. This isn't just another show, it's your sanctuary, a space to pause, reflect, and reconnect with what matters most. So, take a deep breath, open your heart, and join me. Together, let's step into the sanctuary. Everyone, to the sanctuary for mind, body, and spirit. We have got a great show for you today. It is so interesting. We are with Astrologer May Ling, and she is a modern hermetic esoteric astrologer. You're going to explain that later, who's been practicing since the 90s. She's also led seminars on 3 continents and read thousands of charts for clients ranging from Fortune 500 CEOs and crypto innovators to acclaimed actors from Broadway and Netflix. She's often sought out for her channeled healing interpretations of love, business, and family. So welcome. Thank you. I'm so excited you're here.
Yeah, I'm so glad it worked out. It's such a crazy time as far as that goes for us to be doing this, which is always so much fun.
It really is. And before we jump in, just like we do at Spirit Fest, we want to kind of set the energy and
yes, I love it.
in gratitude for this platform. I am so grateful for the Transformation Network. I'm grateful to be able to speak with you and for everybody who is listening to our show. And as always, we ask to call in our angels, guides, masters, saints, benevolent extraterrestrials that are working with us, and that we're going to be led to say the perfect thing to the perfect person at the perfect time. That's always what we say. So
I love it.
yeah, so thank you so much for being here. So we had such an interesting conversation yesterday talking about the show. I can't wait to see the charts, but I was just saying, I feel like it's World War III. Nobody's actually saying it. And I think maybe the perception of that is, because horrific things have happened during world wars, but every situation is different, and we're so technologically different now than we have been in the past too.
Yeah.
So tell me what you're thinking, what you're seeing and observing, what's going on right now. What in the world is happening?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm a little bit more hopeful, but you know me as an optimist anyways. I'm always smiling a little bit. So I would say that the thing that I would focus on is that the energies are really, really intense. And if you're going to pick a date, February 28th was a pretty good one to pick. I'm not going to lie. And it really can go both ways. I can actually see it going very, very hopeful, but it's up to each and every individual to try to channel into the positive versus the negative. And I'm super happy to show you what I'm seeing and what I mean by that. What I would say though is that there's this incredible energy that has been coming since July 1st, 2023, and it actually doesn't end until July, I want to say around 15th or so, but really it's almost to the end of the month of July 2029. So we're only about midway through this massively transformational energy. And a lot of folks have talked about the age of Aquarius and what is that? And so what they're really oftentimes looking at is Pluto and going into the house of Aquarius. These are slow moving planets. But what a lot of people ignore is that from July 1st, 2023 until 2029, you actually have a trine between 3 slow moving planets. Okay. And that trine is between Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. Okay. So these are 3 very specific manifestation planets, and it's in there was like a macro version. I don't usually read the macro for people, even though I do read the macro. But the area where I think I'm supposed to help in this world, you know, and also through that helping learn myself, is individual readings. That's why I love Spirit Fest. That's why I love what you're doing. So it 100% also relates to each and every person. It's almost like the macro is more of a backdrop that inspires you to make this transformation. But this transformation is Uranus moving from Pluto, philosophical, spiritual, what have you, into Aries, the person that you want to become, the world that you want to be, supported by, which is what the trine means, supported by the Pluto energy, which is, hey, we got to make a change because we're not, this not working out. We need to change, right? And also the Uranian energy, which is very much stepping into this new approach to things. The fact that there's a lot of new ways that we can be, there's a lot of new energies, there's a lot of new possibilities with AI. So this is just a part of this incredible transformative cycle for both all of humanity as well as each and every person individually. And so I really want to set the tone there because, you know, that's more, you can't, how this all came to be must have been the weird, distinct message that I always try to give, which is there is great opportunity for each person, even when you're seeing adversity, because adversity is what doesn't allow us to stay in our old behaviors.
Is there any connection between what's in the charts now compared to other world wars?
I don't usually I would say yes and no at the same time. This trine is really distinctive to this period, I would say, because it sits for so long. I mean, that is a very long time for one particular set of aspects to hang out together. It's like a like it literally forms a mini triangle, and it just moves depending on the time of day from house to house to house, creating this desire to reflect on what kind of change do you want. And they don't move. And the crazy thing is you have to understand that they don't just not move. Okay. Like these planets go in retrograde. So it almost is like from someone like me, the way that I read astrology, where the shapes are even more important. The shapes on the chart are even more important than the individual planets. Like I feel like the shapes form a sentence, whereas the individual planets are just a word. You got to understand the meaning of that word. Totally, but the shapes form something that it's trying to tell you. Anyways, it actually, when these planets are just retrograding all the time to stay in this formation, it's almost like when you have like a knot that's really, really bad, and the masseuse is just sitting there like deep tissue pressuring that knot like crazy. And then all the other planets are just forming patterns to try to help the masseuse get in there. And that it's like a really long period for humanity to be massaged in this way. As we know, as anybody that's had a good deep tissue massage and a lot of pain knows, some of that is not particularly pleasant, right? But and sometimes if you have a bad masseuse and they do that, it's no good. But I'm hopeful that maybe we have a decent masseuse, and I'm praying for people to be that way.
Do you know the last time that there was this type of conjunction?
This type specifically, not so much, because for whatever reason, most of your big astrologers that would help me find that date, they're going to be like, they don't look. So what makes modern Hermetic, I had to come up with a name for what I do, because I'm not quite a Hermetic astrologer, because those folks tend to believe that all astrology is extremely deterministic. Ultimately, now there's ranges of this, but I don't believe that at all. I think that there are energies that we have. And those energies that we have are unique to, the life and time that we decide to live in. I do, and I do also believe that we kind of chose all of this, even the parts that we don't remember through the veil of consciousness, etc. That's the Hermetic side. The esoteric side believes that we're here to try to evolve, and that this lived experience isn't what it is, but it does help us clarify and clear our spirituality. It's possible that this has happened in the past. It's just that people don't typically talk about it. So I'd have to really go back and try to find it. The individual planets being where they are placed, Yes, that has happened. Whether or
Hmm.
not the trine has actually sustained itself for this ridiculous period of time,
Uh-huh.
I'm not 100% sure. I have to go back and look because to see. But yeah, Pluto just does its route all the time. Like every time you have a big revolutionary period, like the last big revolutions that you saw in the late 1700s, it's just
Uh-huh.
basically making its circle as humanity faces the change, figures out what it's going to do, and then moves forward. So yeah, the planets have definitely been in these different spots, but it's
Hmm.
not this a very unique and beautiful trine that we're experiencing here, and
Right.
it can possibly be more driven by the technological changes that are happening because that Uranian energy is there trine, or it's trying that Pluto, meaning unambiguously it's technology that's driving the change in so
Hmm.
many ways. And then the Neptune sitting there with in the Neptune sitting there in Aries, flopping between Aries and Pisces this entire time.
Hmm.
That's very obvious what it's trying to say. It's like it's working out what the new age is going to be. Let's reflect on what our philosophy is, what our
Hmm.
spirituality is, and then let's come back into the new age with the support. Like the entire time, this is a very positive aspect, even though the other planets are also doing crazy things during this period of time, not the least of which is 2 days ago. So,
Hmm.
so that's
Hmm.
kind of the way that I'm
Hmm.
looking at it. I'll pause so you can ask questions. I apologize.
Oh
I get
no,
very
no.
excited.
This is all just so interesting. There's just so many things that play into this. But
Yeah.
I'm going back. So we know the Earth is going through an evolution and ascension
Yes.
process. But
100%.
is this how that it was prophesied, like in ancient texts, was through astrology, through what we're going through right now?
Yeah, the Hermetic and the esoteric. So esoteric, I forgot to kind of close that out. The esoterics all believe that we're here to ascend and to do.
Hmm.
And so the job of the astrologer really is to help that. And so for me, I'm always really careful. That's why I'm such an optimist. There's a way, even through
Hmm.
adversity, there's something you're supposed to see. So yes, 100%. The astrologers in general that are of this ilk, I would think, or plus or minus, because it's always hard to know
Hmm.
exactly how people are practicing, but they would try to align with the magi period,
Hmm.
of these transformations that we're experiencing. The challenge is, and that was part of my Egypt trip, was learning this, is that no one knows exactly when some of these things happen because the way time was recorded back then.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that's a little bit crazy, but yeah, short answer in the long way, yes. It's really crazy.
Okay, okay. Well, and that makes sense,
Yeah,
that we knew that this has been coming for a long time.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know if you want to share your charts now, but one of the things you said yesterday that was really interesting to me was that the war actually started in Texas. And I was,
Oh,
yeah.
so I was looking this up because I wasn't sure what was going on. So I double checked it. So basically, you got to take into consideration where were the leaders. And so I was wrong when I said that, when I looked it up. But what it was is that the conversation. So what happened was there was a big summit. Energy was a huge component of that summit, as were a few other things. And so that conversation at like 5 or 6 p.m., Trump then flew to Mar-a-Lago, and it was from Mar-a-Lago that there was then an announcement of the
Oh,
war, and then the war obviously began in, or not so obviously. There's like it's weird because the time zones are different. So you've got
yeah.
a 30-minute weirdness. They do some kind of thing where it's like 30 minutes instead of an hour on the time zone. So 9:45 Tehran, Iran, and then
Hmm.
in the US it's 1:15 in the morning. And
Hmm.
so it's interesting because the speech itself talks about, hey, listen, Iranians, this is a once in a lifetime chance. Either you
Hmm.
can or you can't, and that is what it is, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So the interesting thing is what's shown on both the charts. So I will share my screen. I have to send the request,
Okay.
and I'll show both the charts, and then the way that you think about it is the U.S. has its fate and destiny very different from the fate and destiny of Iran, but the stars are lining up. It just has to do with which house is being activated as a function of what's going on.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that a lot of this is coming out of Florida because Florida, in my mind, is right near the capital center of Atlantis.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of crazy, right?
I believe that if you study Atlantis, that Florida was one of the outer rings of that part of, because there was Atlantean cities all over the world, and
Yeah.
that's where the outer ring was here in Florida. And just anyway, I just think it's a coincidence. So
Yeah, and Tehran is so, I mean, like this, a lot of folks will talk about potentially there's a Stargate there, but people forget that the Zoroastrians are there, and there is actually a flame that has been burning since about the 4th century. That's kind of a big deal. They've been praying over this flame for like ever. So Iran has such an incredible set. I mean, like I praise, you know, me being slightly nomadic, loving to travel to places. I'll have to go
hmm
when it's safe and stuff like that. But I have
yeah,
always wanted to understand better all of the
yeah.
beauty of that region. So much is in the bone and stone of this stuff there. So I'm hoping for them. So this is the chart for Iran. Hopefully you can see it on your screen. Okay,
hmm
there. And I'm gonna move my cursor around. But you
Yeah,
couldn't possibly have picked a more a more unique chart from which to have a war begin. Everything is in the
yeah.
11th house. It's
hmm
insane. Which absolutely, that house is a house of transformation, of to something new. Okay, and it's interesting because this particular, like, the planets are more or less conjunct one another, but you have I don't do whole sign because I think that there's actually something to be said for planets trying to sneak into another house but stay in the 11th house, so to speak. So
hmm
you've got Neptune. So again, this was the Neptune Uranus Pluto trine that I'm talking about, right?
Okay, yeah, that's a triangle. Look at that.
Yeah, triangle, right? And so right at this particular moment in history, you have Saturn more or less on top of Neptune. A lot of people have talked about that. And
hmm
so this is actually a very, so Saturn and Neptune will eventually separate before we get to the 2029, which is the end of this trine. But right this minute is where we take the difficult lessons. That's
hmm
why I think in particular so many people have been traumatized by the period of time that has been going on. Saturn's been hanging out with Neptune right on top, because Saturn's pretty slow moving as well. But it's been since essentially the election until, and it will stay there probably until, I have to double check exactly when Saturn rolls out, but I think it's through the end of this year,
hmm
because it's that slow moving. They'll finally get separated enough. But right now they're still right on top of each other. They're hanging out in Aries, right? So we are entering
hmm
this new period. Whereas before Neptune entered Aries, it was kind of the prelude. Okay. So like last year, I was doing a lot of seminars and discussions, screaming at the top of my lungs, because you had some crazy shapes, which I'll show you, that happened
hmm
November and December as a setup for this. Now we've moved full into Aries, Neptune and Aries, and it's like it's time to try to do the new thing. So
hmm
that's really only the last couple months or last few months that you've seen Neptune unambiguously, no retrograde anymore, moving into Aries, not going back and forth. Okay. And Neptune will
hmm
continue forward from this point forward, whereas it had done some retrograde loop-de-loops, which is why we ended up in this longer period. So that right there, we're trying to make a shot. We're taking a shot at the change. And it's not without adversity. So Mars square Uranus means that it's going to be a fight. Okay, there's like it's going to
hmm
be a fight.
hmm
That Mars, by the way, is staying in Aquarius, so it's trying to
Okay.
get that Aquarian energy of like, it's going to be a tech-based fight. That's why, like, some of this nuclear stuff, we want to like pray and hope that that works out okay. But then a lot of this fight is being done via drones as well. So there's other technologies that are coming into play that
hmm
come out and become unobscured for all to see during this period of time. Pluto, which is the planet of change, is in Aquarius in the 10th house. So all that stuff that might have been obscured, that we might have been trying to understand or learning, now in
hmm
the 10th house, the change is going to come forth,
hmm
and either you're going to come out of it one way or the other. It's in opposition to Moon in the 3rd house. This is kind of important, because this opposition is part of why, when you read the speech, that it was done that way. This is going to be one. It's Moon in the 3rd house in Cancer. And
Okay.
by the way, it also happens to be more or less on top of the Imachali. Okay, what is this? This is a war that essentially, a huge component of it is about the communication of what is going on. And
hmm
it's a battle. So for anyone who doesn't have skin in the game, they should just stay out of it and try to like dial up any passionate feelings that they have, because this is going, that part of this conflict is the propaganda surrounding this conflict. And so how that messaging is done, how it's transformed from what it was before to what it is now, that's actually a component. And this is going to stay for a little bit. And it's this opposition to Pluto. There's a couple other planets that come in. Jupiter will come into Pluto, but it does actually persist for a bit. And there's a couple of dates that I'll show you in a bit. The 5th is actually a big inflection point date where you start to have everybody, like actually even today and tomorrow, you have it reads like different parties will either declare which side they're joining, or will be working in the background. What are they working for? They're working for, it's this Jupiter in Cancer at 15 degrees. Okay. This is the most exalted that Jupiter can be in Cancer. Okay. And for Tehran, from the point of view of them, it's all 3rd house Cancer. So they've got to speak up. They cannot stay quiet. Really, like you can't, if this is actually the thing that you were put on for, then you can't be quiet right now. You have to move the needle. And it is actually moving the needle. This Jupiter is actually directed towards Mercury, Venus, which is then conjunct Sun in Pisces. So this is really an ideological war, for lack of a better way to describe it. It scares me to even say it, but that's what this is. You've got Uranus in the 1st house of transformation. So this really is your best shot. If you as an astrologer listening to that is very different from just someone who might be a political commentator or something like that. You're like, no, I agree. That's what that chart looks like to me too. That's what it goes. And so, good, bad, or otherwise, that's a thing. Now let's talk about, what's it mean, Jupiter in the house of Cancer and then layering the 3rd house on top of it? When we say Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, what we mean is it's the blessed union of wisdom and nurturing. So it is the ability to have that sort of, thoughtfulness, combined with the fact that you are supported for once and safe to do it. Okay. That's what that actually means, which I think is crazy if you think about the last 47 years of these poor people. Yeah. It's the worst, so I am hopeful for them. That's why I'm I'm somewhat hopeful. At the same time, they got to shoot their shot or else it's a problem.
Well, and perhaps the rest of the world is sensitive enough. I hate to use the word woke, but aware enough, and every country's going through their own divisions and things like that, 100%. But that we can send them love and strength and, that type of support. And then as a collective, and that collective energy, eventually there's going to be a tipping point one way or another.
That's my hope. I mean, you can never see, and I'll show you what it looks like from America's perspective too, so you can kind of see how different it is. Whoops, some other shapes that I prepared. Is this America? February 28th at 1:15 a.m. in Palm Beach. Yeah, this is where Mar-a-Lago is from Palm Beach. That's why I put it in there. This is America's perspective. From America's perspective, this is why I say
it's completely the other side of the chart. That's really interesting.
It's different geography. So same planets, but different geography. So from our perspective, why would we want to do it? Because it's interesting because when you read individuals, you read this way, but a lot of people that are reading more world events, they don't always look at the different perspectives that different players might have. And maybe that makes me different. Maybe they do this and I'm wrong to say that about them. Nonetheless, this is America's point of view from Mar-a-Lago doing this event at 1:15 in the morning. From America's perspective, Pluto's in the 2nd house, which is very much so we would be doing it some people have said, but they mean it a different way, that America is not in Iran for the sake of the Iranian people, that it's just a byproduct that the Iranian people might benefit. And that is what this chart says. So this would be Pluto in the 2nd house in Aquarius. So it would be about changing the assets that you have control over, essentially. And it would be on the other side, Moon in the 8th house in Cancer. It's the stuff that, again, It's stuff that you don't necessarily see coming. Like, so it is unknown, like the motivations, they're obscured.
Yeah.
They're obscured. You shouldn't think that you can see it. And so on and so forth. Jupiter is actually exalted again, but exalted for Sun and North Node. All of this in Pisces in the third house. So the messaging will actually get across a certain way. It actually supports the messaging that is being that is taking the action, if you will. And then all this fourth house energy, this is all about, in this context, would be about if you were going to do something that involved some sort of security function, this would be the safest place from which to do it, is from the fourth house. You would want all the planets supporting you in the fourth house. And then your message comes across in this Piscean third house way with all of this, right? So there's that. And then, I would say that everything is on the Celli right now, which I'll show you what that's a bigger context for America in general. And it has to do with trauma healing. Additionally, for a lot of people in the United States, regardless of whether it's individual or it's America, there's a lot of deep-rooted trauma healing that is happening. And all these planets are sitting there either stimulating it or opposing it, so it comes out like tissue damage, so to speak. And that's been going on for a while. That actually got escalated in November of last year, which is why I was doing so many seminars. I didn't even want to do them. I was so exhausted, but I was like, no, I need to do this for any spirit worker that has capacity to listen. So that's
this is all fascinating. So this was the day the war started.
Yes.
Okay.
From the point of view of the Americans versus from the point of view of the Iranians in Iran from the other term.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we've got about 1 minute left. So
oh my gosh.
I know. So let's pause right here, and we're going to come back to this chart. But tell people how they can find you on website, social media.
Yeah, I'm at www.astrologywithmay. And everything on my social is always at Astrology with May. I try to make it easy. So my Instagram, Astrology with May. All my stuff is Astrology with May. And I could actually write that. I probably should have written that in my little.
It's on our website.
Oh, good. Yes. Yeah.
And then spiritfestusa.com is our website, and you can see upcoming shows. May was with us in St. Pete here. Hopefully we're going to see you again this year, but let's go to break, and we'll chat more when we come back.
Hi, this is the Celtic seer, Barbara McGillicuddy, and you can find me at barbaramcgillicuddy.com or on YouTube at Metaphysical Awakenings with Barbara and Eric. As a medium and animal communicator, it is my joy to speak with people on this side and people who have crossed over to bring forth beautiful messages of love.
Hi, I'm Susan from My Enchanted Path, where I create divinely guided candles, intention oils, soaps, and more that make your spiritual practice simple. No complicated rituals needed. The names may be playful, but every product is serious about helping you shift your energy. All fragrances are clean and safe, free from the major toxins no one wants in their home or on their skin. With a 5-star rating and over 100,000 customers, MyEnchantedPath.com is a place to find charming items for an enchanted life.
Are you longing for the deepest healing of your soul? The kind that transforms you from the soul outward? At JewishHealer.com, Dr. Doran Shalev offers powerful energy healing rooted in the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, where he heals the body through the soul and the soul through divine connection. Your transformation begins with a single session. Treat yourself and book yours today at JewishHealer.com. All sessions are 50% off through December.
Join us for Spirit Fest, coming soon to a city near you. Spirit Fest is a metaphysical, holistic, and crystal expo featuring an amazing array of vendors, speakers, authors, artists, crystals, healers, psychic readers, and more. Spirit Fest is your chance to explore and connect with others of like mind. Get all details, including our upcoming locations up and down the East Coast, also discounted admission, and more at spiritfestusa.com. Our next event is January 10th and 11th with special guests and special presentations, including psychic explorer, medium Mark Anthony, and also historical researcher, explorer, and author Jim Vieira. More details are coming to our website soon, and we look forward to seeing you at Spirit Fest in 2026. Welcome back, everybody, to the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. I'm here with Master Astrologer May. She is a modern hermetic esoteric astrologer, which is so interesting because we're looking at old astrology, new astrology, current astrology, how it applies to us now. And we're doing some charts and asking what in the world is happening right now, because it seems like everything is in chaos. And would you say that really that this is an orderly thing, or do we really know how this is going to come out?
No, yeah, it's like it's a free will thing. I mean, for me, there are other astrologers, they don't believe in free will, but this is a choice that we want to make. I mean, that's why, all the folks that do things like Anchor the Light, that are doing grid work, all these things, what we're trying to do is raise the vibration. We're trying to encourage people to live the better version of themselves, the version that's forgiving, the version that tries to help people get to where they need to spiritually, all that stuff. And it's, to me, it looks more like, it could go either way. Like, for example, if you have scar tissue on a muscle, you break the scar tissue, but you still have to put in the PT. You can actually do the work to heal yourself and demonstrate that you're dedicated to healing yourself. So I do see that as this period of time. That's why we want to try to do, at all points, we want to be the best version of ourselves. We want to surround ourselves with people that inspire us to do what we're supposed to do, versus, there's so much distraction. Like, we want to be really careful where we apply our energy. And even above all, like, even without, that chart as an implication for anyone that I'm reading, especially with birthdays around this period of time, this cluster of planets, this stellium, and people are talking about it. We have, I think, coming up really shortly, if it's today, I think, or it might be tomorrow morning, there's actually a blood moon. And the blood moon is... Oh, that was this morning. Yeah, this morning. And so that is an incredibly impactful transformational moon. So these are, we're being asked right now, like, we're not even quite yet to the middle. The middle happens later this year, but we're being asked to be better versions of ourselves. And what we want to do is keep our mind in that place, because it is absolutely the case that human beings are very powerful. They manifest what they think. So we got to be careful.
And what we pay attention to, we see more of. Yes. That's the thing too, is people, they just want to complain about, oh, I can't believe this, and I hope that this is, well, just, if you would just focus on what could come out of it and the good things, that's what I think we'll see more of. And there's so much fake stuff too online, not even just AI generated videos, but people saying stuff that just isn't true. And people accept it, and
it's so harsh. And what you want to do is you want to realize that everything is an opportunity, and this chaos, this kicking up of everything could be positive, it could be negative. If we don't have direct skin in the game, we should just pray for the people that do to do the right thing. That's what we want to do. Send them loves, just like you said, every day of the week. And then for ourselves, right? Because we don't know how the butterfly effect exactly works. Right. We really don't. And look for the signs in the direction of what you should. And it should really sound like something positive. I think a lot of people, as they're waking up spiritually, are experiencing an increasing frequency and I would almost say amplitude of synchronicities. Like, things happen and you're like, Okay, so obviously, like even with this, we were obviously supposed to have this conversation right on this very specific date when people are a little bit over, because I'm sure if you talk to 100 astrologers, more than half will be incredibly upset right now. Whereas I'm like, oh, this could go either way. This is how exciting for the world.
I've been trying to focus on some of the good things. And one was that the female fighter pilot that got shot down and the men were running towards her in the field saying, "Are you okay? You're safe," they said. And it was very interesting analyzing her. She's smiling, like she just got off a cruise ship, which, was better than standing there looking really scared, which I'm sure she was. But my ex-husband was a fighter pilot. So, there's another life, long time ago. But, they're trained very well. And that is, the worst case scenario is to be shot down and landed. But how wonderful was that those were the people that received her and in that type of a greeting. And that is what makes me think, I mean, it's a large country, there's a lot of people, but I am hopeful that the people are open to the change and that do want, to go back to having more freedom for everyone there. But then also how the people in Dubai are treating the people that are stuck there. Yeah. The hotel's putting them up for free.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's got to be incredibly scary as well.
Yeah.
So, you said you just had come back from there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, because you really see what you're supposed to see. And I'm starting to, people have always joked, "May, are you a spy?" I promise I'm not a spy. I don't think I'm not, I'm too giggly. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. I couldn't be able to keep a straight face. But yeah, it's really crazy because I think you see what you're supposed to see. Dubai is a unique place. It's so amazing. And it's been a lot to process because I only got back. So the trip was November, Dubai, then most of the latter part of November and December was in Egypt, and then back from Dubai, and then back to Florida, then Spain, then now in New York. So it's like my weird travel life. But in each place, and like I said, the synchronicities are really frequent once as you open your third eye, as you become more open-minded to conversations and to people and to things around you, the synchronicities accelerate in a way that you're just like, okay,
right.
But strangely enough, the Fairmont, the thing that I was attending was actually at the Fairmont, and that unfortunately was one of the targets. And then the other target was this building that was right next to where I was actually physically staying, and because I was staying also very close to the Mall of the Emirates. And then I'm so grateful, like so far nothing's happened to the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in that region, and it is built incredibly. The base of that, I'm just going to tell you, sacred geometries is a real thing that exists, whether you believe it for spiritual reasons or whether you believe it for architectural reasons. Leonardo da Vinci was a big studier, but the Burj Khalifa was actually built with sacred geometries. When you go through the tour at the base, they'll even show you 3 concentric circles, which form the structural base of the Burj Khalifa, allowing it to be able to hold that much weight to be that tall. So it's actually kind of, like, I am praying that thing does not come down, even though I know that a lot was done such that, and this is not obvious to people that don't live in cities. When you have a large building, a lot of architectural things are done to make sure that when it falls, it doesn't fall on the other buildings and create a domino. But nonetheless, we should pray that very little damage happens to all of these nations that are surrounding it.
So the sacred geometry, is that feng shui, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, it's so fascinating. So this is not an area that I yet feel like I've become an expert. So I'll give you a little bit of a teaser, and then I know, Mary, you meet all these beautiful people, so you'll find someone. But the sacred geometries, and they exist within astrology too. It's that when I'm reading the charts, it was the sacred geometries that started attracting me and kind of opened up my third eye, because I'm just staring at them all the time. But sacred geometries exist across religions. So some of the symbols that are in Buddhism, they exist within Hindi, they exist within Christianity, they exist. Sacred geometries are everywhere. Leonardo da Vinci studied them like crazy. We know that Salvador Dali has them in the Dali Museum near St. Pete, which I definitely think everybody should go visit. It's all over his stuff. They're incredible. Obviously the Muslim culture, otherwise a Burj Khalifa wouldn't be like built that way. You go into any mosque, it's almost all sacred geometries. The Freemasons, it's like all over the place, and also in your astrological chart. So that's why I do align with, with Hermeticism. You have to study astrology is the nerdiest. If you're going to be a mystic of any, astrology is the nerdiest. You can't. No one should choose astrology. You're drawn to astrology. You don't have a choice, because tarot, they learn a lot too, not taking anything away from it, but astrologers are the nerdiest, I think, of the group. But for me, when I read the charts, I prefer this format to even the Vedic format. And I do try to study the Vedics as well, because their stories have a lot of value. For example, it's really the Vedics that talk about, to the Egyptians as well, but really the Vedics have expanded this idea of exaltation of one planet in another house. That's I would give credit to the Vedics. Other people can argue with me. I'd be cool. It's fine. But in the chart, the way that I think about it is, when you're born, that chart, the chart is a circle that's supposed to represent where you're sitting on the planet, and then how the planets map out. And if we think about this idea that we are just a vibrational energy that happens to form in the physical space, right? If we have that vibe, and then we also think about as above, so below, then the idea is that you have that sacred geometry within you, and that is your vibe, and that the planets basically just move around your geometry. And as you're evolving through life, there are different thematics, there are different lessons that you chose to take that can be seen in many ways, but can be seen from this astrological perspective. And so for some of my clients, there are a couple of different types of astrology that are geographically based. Astrocartography, one of the issues that I take with it is that it overuses the natal chart. By a lot. However, solar return, lunar return, and then maybe there's a nuance of a couple others that are geographically based, allow you to figure out what your lessons are on your birthday. So like this chapter of the book, this, if we're more like a saga, we're more like Lord of the Rings, and so we have, this book is called The Twin Towers, and I'm going to do a very specific set of sagas, and hopefully some knowledge will be handed, and I will mature as a function of going through these things, both good and bad. And so what you can do technically with solar return and lunar return is decide which house you want to take your lumps in. I can't move the planets. If they're negatively aspected, they're negatively aspected, but I can move the nature of the lesson to the left. Like I had one, and sometimes I can't. I have one client, she's so great. I mean, and she's like, I know she really wants to find love, and she would come to me every year, and I'd be like, how about career? She's like, really? And I'm like, I'm sorry, these planets won't move out of each other's way. I can't help you. But we could try to take some of the edge off, And she's had an incredible career as a result. She's just like, fine, career. And she's like mid-30s, but she's had such accolades because she just was like, okay, fine, that's fine. I was like, maybe, but just take it slow if you're going to do that.
So everything else is going on in the planet right now too. Did what we would call the war, is that affecting individuals who, like you said, don't have skin in the game? Okay.
It's going to form the backdrop, because each of us have our own personal journey. And if you think about it, this aligns with those that talk about we came back during this specific point in time as well. We came back in this crazy world where there's a lot more. And then we chose to stay here through these conflicts. We had a lot of beautiful people that are no longer with us that decided to depart in that one span as well, which is really sad for a lot of us. But some of us decided to stick around and see how it goes. Roll the dice through, and try to. Okay, So that's the backdrop. And a lot of that backdrop, if you think about it, if I'm saying that that trine exists in everyone's chart right now, then I'm saying that all of us are being called upon, but with different houses than maybe just the US, because the way that you read the individual person's chart, you're being called as well to evolve. And it's beautiful, but also potentially painful.
Well, there's a saying, the universe will lead you or it will drag you. It's your choice.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, so when I'm reading, I'm always like cognizant that not everybody's enjoying the evolution. It's not fun sometimes to mature.
Yes.
But the backdrop definitely creates a certain set of scenarios that might be less stable. And in that lack of stability, it forces us to grow and make choices,
which is really what, things are just happening so fast, because look at before we had like the industrial evolution, and now, like you said, AI is playing such a part in this.
Yeah.
And we're just right in the like toddlers, finding out what the bad stuff we can do with it is and how we can fool people and play tricks on each other. But then there are other people that are rising up and looking at how powerful and creative it actually is and how much it can really help us. And again, not being in the fear that it's going to take all the jobs,
yes, we got to stay out of the fear.
Yeah. It's just going to make everything better and easier. And then we'll create new jobs. And I still am ready for a new way of, prosperity, that we don't have to go work for somebody else 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, that everybody's going to do what they love and enjoy. I also wish that we could trade more, that, if you grow apples and I grow, peas, that we could trade with each other and, everything would be good. So who knows,
Who knows? And I'll say too, that Neptune coming into Aries is really like, no one, like this is all new. And it's also about people trying to, in every single chart, it's just exactly precisely what was the nuance that people were struggling with. But for every single chart, that Neptune is asking us not to really think about our actions and what we want them to be. And what I want to say especially for people that feel disempowered. So I want to actually show this really quickly about what actually happened in the November timeframe that had me like, oh my gosh, I need to do a lot of these seminars, because a lot of people didn't talk about this. This was the chart. It happened everywhere. I chose 1205 to get it right on top so you could see it. But because these are longer acting planets, this was everywhere. So the way I do this, because I was doing it in all these different places, I was like, I want you to see that this is actually everywhere.
Wow. Yeah.
So in order to get to this, though, we had to enter this period.
Okay.
So this is already a pretty crazy period. This was October 24th, and this would have been everywhere in the world because the planets creating it were so slow moving. Okay. So this technically is just a rectangular cross with a trine. Again, that beautiful trine that I've been talking about with Neptune on top of it. So from October 24th through until about December, because this continued either this shape or the other shape. It was like in and out of this shape. This shape, any 5-point star, even if it's not a perfect 5-point star, which did actually happen during the October 24th through the December 22nd period. So this huge multi-month period is about the transformation of the individual. So from October through December 22nd, it would have become crazy apparent to everyone that whatever they were doing, it just can't continue this way.
Right.
And some of it could be good, some of it could have been bad, but it was just overwhelming. But this was in particular crazy. I don't know why a lot of people didn't catch it, but the point that I want to highlight without turning it into kind of a weird thing, a longer discussion, is that everything was on the Imamcelli, which is so the opposite of the Imamcelli is the midheaven, and no one ever talks about it because it's not usually that big of a deal, to be honest. But because actually the Uranus, which is this planet of technological transformation, it's really about modernity, and that's at the midheaven, which is the most possible, like, hey guys, I'm knocking at the door, I need you to acknowledge. was in direct opposition to this place, which is the Emincelli is right between the third and the fourth house, which is, it's about safety, security, our deepest thing. So that's why I'm saying that period would have, like, basically for every single person, and this opposition stayed for a period of time because all that kept happening is the planets just kept moving in and out of it. Other planets kept moving through. But during this period of time, it was just like, hey guys, let me just show you what your trauma is.
Right.
So to speak. In case you were curious, you're trying to hide your trauma. No, and this would have been on the macro level, it would have been a country's trauma. On the micro level, it would have been your personal trauma, which some folks might have felt was the function of the holidays, just generally doing that. But there was actually a bigger thing happening. And so this would have been November the 12th. But just to show you, it then came back. It came back on December the 12th.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. And so it came back, and each time it's forming a yod. And depending on what country you were, that yod would have been in different places. It just so happened I was in Egypt. So the yod at that point in time would have been in the 10th house and 9th house, which means like we've got to like transform how we're seen externally, so to speak. And so it's not so weird to me that you then have what's going on right now with everybody, like, because Iran has done its thing and it's fired at a bunch of people, and other people are, and every single Middle Eastern country is like telling you where do they sit on this, right? So it's a very unique period. And even then, just to give you a sense for it, this was a 5-ray star. So this is a true pentagram on December 15th. I have no idea why nobody talked about it.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, this is scary. I wasn't.
And now, was that only in Sarasota, or was that
everywhere?
Wow.
It's just it would have happened at almost, because the last, so one point of the star was either at any time being formed by the sun, which is fairly fast moving, or the moon. And so it really, it was the sun. So the sun would come around, it would hit, and then you'd have 1 full hour that was the apex of that energy, and then you'd go to the next day, and then the sun would hit again, and you'd have another like different thing. It was insane.
Yeah.
It probably felt very overwhelming definitely you've expressed that it might have been an overwhelming period.
Right.
But I think most
December, so everything looks like was amping up to this. Is that fair to say?
It was amping up. And then from December 22nd, generally across the board for everybody, from December 22nd until about January 22nd, I call that the integration period. So like whatever you saw that you needed to see to know what you then probably needed to do and where you sit as a person happened during that crazy period. And then you integrated it during from December 22nd until January 22nd ish. And that was like a calm. And actually anyone with those January birthdays, the vitality with which you're coming out of that period is pretty aggressive, because you have a particular mission for a lot, because no matter what, you've got this massive stellium and you've got no obstacles to that stellium January 22nd through close to February. And then there's like one little square that's an irritation, but mostly you're in, like right now, all of the birthdays through about April, because that stellium sits there, the one that I showed you that happened, that stellium is more or less there through about April. So all of, like, people are coming out of this and they're running aggressively, going for it. Everybody's shooting their shot as far as that goes. And so we expect to see a lot of this. The crazy next thing that I see, so with respect to the more scary conflicts that we're seeing, I see really May 5th. So the March 5th, we'll see some, so really in 2 days, we'll see some new news that really like crafts and forms what this conflict is, who's on what side, that sort of thing. And then May 8th is a date as well to look at, or sorry, March 8th is a date to look at. Then March 15th is a big, like, it's the first big breath of everything to come from this. And then you have another big breath on May 1st that happens of oh, wow, okay, what's this sort of thing, so to speak. And those are both, I would say, chaotic moments. It could go either way, so to speak,
What's in 2 days? What's the alignment that shows you that?
Let me show you that. one of these things is not like the other. It's this. It's a kite formation.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a kite formation, and this is for Tehran. But this kite formation, because it's formed by the moon, will exist for every single country. So this is the tension. It's the moon, which is the emotional collaborations, the emotion of collaborations in opposition to fourth house security. So up through the point of May 5th. On May 5th, you'll see what is it that we believe? What is it that we believe in relationship to others? And how does that serve the security function for us? That's what I see on May 5th. That's why I'm like, I think May 5th might be a date to consider.
March 5th.
March 5th. Thank you. March 5th. Sorry. Okay. March 5th is I'm like, oh, okay. March 5th might be a date. And then I see Jupiter in Cancer in the 8th house, which is basically some unknown, obscured factor that is very positively aspected, working on behalf of Tehran in the back channel. Essentially, it won't come out. It's obscured, but it helps. It comes in to help with this Jupiter, 15-degree Jupiter Cancer energy, and it helps whatever the messaging ultimately becomes on this date.
Okay.
And so that solidifies on March the 5th.
Yes.
And then I don't know why I have difficulty sometimes when I'm going too fast. March the 8th, then you get this, which you do still have this remaining sort of, weirdness that happens. Yeah. But you see a lot of positive, whatever comes out of March the 5th will set the tone for the rest of the period. This March the 8th, you get kind of something rather definitive happening. And then we move into that's the 11th. And then this is the 15th. So by the 15th, you still have basically the 15th is a pause point, let's call it.
Okay.
And so then it doesn't, when I looked, you have a lot of frustrating things that happen. They look more like stresses to the situation, but they don't look like as violent and in opposition. But then you get all the way to let me see if I actually pulled it up. I may not have.
We've got just about a minute left here too before we
don't worry. Then you get to May 1st, and then there looks like an event or something like big happens on May 1st, and then it's dissipated by May 15th. So whatever happens on May 1st, the impact of that is then resolved over the next 15 days.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense the way I'm saying it.
No, it makes complete sense, and it gives
there's an energy on May 1st, and then
it'll be something to look forward to. Okay, we're about to go to another break, and for more information, astrologywithmay.com, also on YouTube and Instagram, Astrology with May. And we'll be back, everybody, with more exciting discussion in a couple of minutes. So we'll see you then.
I'm Susan from My Enchanted Path, where I create divinely guided candles, intention oils, soaps, and more that make spiritual practice simple, no complicated rituals. The names may be playful, but every product is serious about helping you shift your energy. All fragrances are clean and safe, free from major toxins no one wants in their home or on their skin. With a 5-star rating and over 100,000 customers, MyEnchantedPath.com is a trusted source for charming items for an enchanted life.
Experience the healing magic of the Himalayas. Tibetan singing bowl classes and sessions are available at Kopali Inputs, which is located at downtown St. Petersburg, Florida.
Florida has a great new option for healthy living. Our Natural Health Expos were a hit last year, so 2026 brings more events around Florida. This special event offers health and wellness opportunities for people and pets. High-quality experts in well-being, healing, anti-aging, and natural living. Plus, you'll find speakers, demonstrations, and much more. All details, list of locations, and discounted admission can be found at naturalwellnessexpo.com.
Hi, this is Mark Anthony. I'm the psychic lawyer, also known as the Psychic Explorer, and I'm proud to be teaming up with Dr. Pat Basili for our show, The Psychic and the Doc, your practical paranormal power unleashed. And on this show, all subjects are on the table and no topic is taboo. Tune in, and better yet, call in Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Hey everybody, oh my goodness, we have got talk radio for all of it.
Really, thank you for blazing the trail for women in talk radio and just being such an inspiration to me and so many other people. What you're doing is so awesome, and you know, without people like you there to like really step out of the box and go for it, I don't know if someone like me would have ever ended up here, but I'm so happy to be here, and yeah, I just want to thank you for everything you're doing. You're one of my major inspirations.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. We are discussing what in the world is happening right now with Master Astrologer May Ling. You can find her astrologywithmay.com. She's also on YouTube and Instagram, and she's got so much in-depth, interesting information. First of all, about everything. Secondly, about what's happening in the world right now, which seems really chaotic, but this is really the time for great change. You know, and a time for us to really focus on what we want to see, who we want to be. So tell us more. You said that you had some other charts too, in addition to the upcoming, you know, dates that we could look for: March 5th, the 8th, and then May 1st, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's gonna, like, this period, if you know, be as positive as you can, but also try to make progress on the things that are about you. Okay. You want to heal up any kind of traumas that you have, because those are going to be aggravated through this entire period. Those things that you know you're insecure about, those things that you know that you're healing from. This is a time to really make progress on that, but also manifestation of the things that you know are uniquely you. And if you don't know what that is yet, you can always schedule with me. But at the same time, you should, at the same time, like, separate from that, all joking aside, you should, you know, talk to your loved ones about the things that you love that are so distinctly you, and try to sense and feel out where you're really happy and where you're not. It doesn't mean you make massive immediate changes, even though this energy is help for that. But what I would always encourage people to understand is that massive changes happen first in the way you think about yourself and the potential of your future. And then everything just kind of naturally flows. It's a really weird thing. It makes more sense after you get comfortable with it. But a lot of the change that we do is to our own mind, our own way of thinking. So that has to change first. And this is a really great period through actually May as well, for all of those changes. It's not without adversity, but it is a thing. Now, from May through, I want to say around the middle of July, you get like a reprieve. You get to actually relax off of what will feel like a crazy intense period. It's interesting because some of my clients who, you know, I read, you know, month by month, usually I can do the whole year, but for the last like 2 years, I've been like, look, the max, I could try to do this for a year, but really it's 6 months, my friend. Because you can be in such a different place in 6 months, it won't matter. So it's the same thing for folks in, you know, if you take advantage of these stelliums and you don't waste them on things that have nothing to do with you. It's really important to see it that way. Then
Say that again.
If you don't waste these stelliums, because what you got to understand is when these stelliums happen, it's like a free for all of manifestation energy. And so you get to manifest whatever you want to, and you should have a vision of your life. And if you, in the absence of that vision, you're just going to follow someone else's vision. And so your vision will get no love. Their vision will get all the love. And so they'll be a lot farther along, and you'll be like, well, wait, I'm not even happy with all the things I've done. So what we really want to do is understand the vision that we have, and then align with people that are going to help us with that vision. Like, it's so easy to say yes when Mary calls me last minute or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, obviously that would be really cool. In fact,
right.
Yeah,
Oh, you know, and I'm so grateful. Yes.
I'm super grateful too. It's just aligned, right? It's just aligned.
Unlike other times in our history, because again, everything's moving so fast with the different technology and things like that. And then, you know, the more savvy that we get trying to see the world, you know, now people are getting their news from Facebook or social media. They're not necessarily looking toward the same sources. So now, you know, some of these sources have learned that they can kind of manipulate the people. Yes. And that was one of the things that I found kind of was a key word late last year was propaganda. That it used to be that propaganda was they would drop leaflets out of planes telling you that your government was bad, or, you know, different radio stations that would do nothing but, you know, promote, you know, their thoughts. But this is really the time for our intuition and our discernment. And I think that it isn't even in a mainstream way. More so than ever, we need to learn that we are spiritual beings in these human bodies. You know, we're not humans having, you know, we're spirits having a human experience, basically.
That's right.
So, and that AI is a mirror. That's something else that I want people to recognize. And the more that we use it for the good, the more that we're building up, and then we're going to kind of share that with the collective. Sorry, I keep hitting that. So propaganda being led, finding who we are, you know, and thinking independently for ourselves is so important. So, and that's what's showing up in the charts.
Yeah, I mean, yes. In a nutshell, want to be really, you know, and I think one of the things is this, we've had people feel bad about not knowing, you know, and it's okay to not know, and it's okay for certain topics just to not be relevant to you. If you think about it, you know, I had this weird meditation where I was like questioning a certain way, and I started to hyperventilate, and because it was showing me this vision of, like, basically it was showing me these Akashic records, but it shows it to me a little differently than, because, you know, things can only be shown to you and what you can understand.
Right.
But it was showing me how, like, synchronicities are constantly being set up. Like, if you drop a ball, they just try to reconfigure it in this really weird way, right? I started to hyperventilate, and I got this, like, almost spiritual, like, it wasn't quite a voice, but it wasn't quite a message. It was just laughter. And it was like, no, that's not for you. You're just a human. This is your piece. Do the best you can with your piece. That's our piece. We just showed it to you so you could stop asking us. All right? Like,
yes.
Stop trying to think you have to know, or that's what it looks like. You will not be able, you can't contain that. Okay.
Right.
So to speak.
Right.
Like that unknowable. And then I stopped. And I was like, okay, can I meditate normal now? And they're like, yes, that's fine. So, but we needed you to understand that. So all of us should, during these periods where we're being inundated, right? Because sometimes it's not even about we wanted to hear it or we wanted to see it. It's you know, it's intrusive. What we want to do, and the only thing that is a counteraction to that intrusive nature is that grounding in what we are supposed to accomplish and what part we can control. You know, it's very easy for us to get overwhelmed with what we cannot control. You know?
Yes. And then that's why anxiety is just off the charts with people these days. And I think it kind of started with the pandemic. That was the first time that the majority of us really felt we were not in control. And there was major things going on around us that we had no say in. But that, again, I try to look at the positives, and I look at what came out of that. And then that is it. We do need to really rely on our intuition and our discernment, and stay in our lane, basically.
Stay in the place where we feel positive, happy, and then know that, I mean, because there's enough growth just in that. There's so much growth. There's so much. And then as we grow, it's really amazing. who, I'm sure it's true for you too, especially given how many people you meet on a given day. It's always amazing how you change their lives, especially with your Spirit Fest, where you're helping people to find different intuitives or different healers that they need. It's amazing. It's never what you expect it to be. You never know who they're going to put in your path. So if you're in this like beautiful, positive, grounded state, that's the best thing you could do. 100%.
Yeah. Some days are easier than others.
Yeah. That's the challenge. When these stelliums are so intense, every day you've almost got to recalibrate.
Yeah. No, it's true.
It's
I
so
recently had not been feeling well, and I was sleeping a lot, and it just, it works. When I'm up and awake, I feel great, but I've been resting a lot. And then I thought, well, I might as well just embrace it, and I did a lot of inner work. I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of, I just was able to do that and be able to get to find that center space sometimes easier, and when there is a lot going on that seems chaotic.
Yeah, the stelliums can both energize, but almost over energize. So you might even go through these periods where you're like, I can't sleep at all. you know? And then the very next day you're like, I don't even remember what happened today. I'm so exhausted. But
and then the solar flares on top of that. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Just go easy on yourself. And what we really want to focus on is some people, especially in certain communities, know what it feels like to be centered. For those that don't know what it's like to be centered, that's a place to kind of try to find as your starting place, I think. Because it's a feel to be centered and to be connected. And it's a blessing to know what it feels like, but some people still are growing that understanding.
Yeah. And it's to be non-reactive and even non-emotional. And that's kind of been a slippery slope for me too, because I want to be emotional. I came here to live life. I want to, just love the things I do. But at the same time, we need to not be so,
the contrast is there too.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so you've got more charts.
Yeah, I've got a couple more charts that I would show. But what I wanted to say is that you get a little bit of a respite, and then it all starts again circa August.
Interesting. Okay.
So August begins, you can start to see that you have this basically, it's a little bit after August, probably August 15th. I just threw up one really quickly. But what happens is you start to get these pentagrams again, essentially. This right here isn't yet forming the cross, but this will ultimately, I think it's around the 15th. I won't mess with it too much so that but the pentagrams will form again, and then you'll go through, so September, so you'll get a couple of pentagrams just for a couple of weeks in August. It's probably about the 8th, I think, you get this kind of intensity. Now, what I want to mention with all of these pentagrams is last year around August, you also had these pentagrams, and it was, and so it's weird because this year kind of mirrors aspects of last year. The beginning of last year, you also had these incredible stelliums, just as, you were having the first couple months of the new administration come in, and so much was happening. So much was happening on top of these stelliums. It was so funny because I saw it coming and I was like, I don't want to take this energy in New York. And I ended up going to Vietnam. So I was like, I saw a beach town and hid for a while. And from that beach town, for my clients, I would occasionally record them messages. Hey, are you feeling stressed out? Just relax. Here's a photo of the beach. It's not that bad, because the energy in Vietnam, where the energy in the US was in these really specific places with the stelliums that were, for me, going to be out of control. So by moving to Vietnam, I took it more in this first house, second house vibes. So more like, understanding the material components, my material comfort, and also my identity and what kind of person do I want to be through the rest of the year. So I took it easy. Everyone else in the US took it exactly in the opposite area. This is so painful. So we're obviously getting that again with the intensity that I showed you. You see the stelliums compact, but then you get this respite. Here, I'll take it off of this so that it's not, because it's not that chart, but you get this respite that happens in May, June, July, and then we enter August again. Last year we entered August, And a lot of people felt that respite, May, June, July. And then August hit a lot of people in a weird way, because some people experienced it as getting sick. Some people experienced what should have been a very calm summer month as just lots of activities, way more, such that they didn't feel rested. Some people actually had adversity that made it impossible to enjoy August. It was whatever you needed as like a quick, like almost a practice test before that craziness that then happened in October. This time we start in August and it just escalates all the way until we get to October, which is the month before the primaries. And by October, it looks, let's see, share screen. It looks like in October, it looks like this.
Okay.
So it looks crazy, essentially is what it is. You still have that trine this entire time. This is for DC. So particularly this, DC has so much politically that's going to be happening, but you end up starting the month, and this is the energy for the East Coast, but you'll have similar charts throughout because the moon is what's driving it. So throughout this entire period, you'll have essentially this crazy kite, but then you'll have a T-square. So even though this shape is both torturous in some ways, but a lot gets done, for lack of a better way. But it gets done, and it absolutely is about leadership. It's almost like a fight for leadership, and a fight for who gets to dictate what constitutes a secure speech for America, a secure way that America is going to move going forward and present itself externally. So it's hard to say which party will be able to take advantage of these energies the most. But the transformation is pretty outstanding. There is 100% a lot going on because this Pluto decides to hang out in the 8th house. There are some things that shift in the background for those things that, for the conspiracy theorists, this is their chart every day of the week, because some things are in fact going to happen in the background that none of us will really know, but they do impact leadership for America from October into the November time period. So it is a tumultuous run into November, and then we continue to see that in the. Let me see if I actually pulled the November chart. No, I didn't pull the November chart. I apologize. But the November chart also has, I thought I did. Maybe it didn't. See if I have it. 1 second. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here's the November chart. So by November 1st, like the elections end up being, these look like they're going to be pretty close, right? Okay. They do look like they're going to be pretty close, and it's going to come down to the wire. It doesn't really, there's so much transformation that just happens in the front part of this year in order to see, in order to really correctly interpret this. But I would say that you have probably a lot of new people running that haven't run before, or that are coming at this leadership changes, or new leadership. This is what this Mars in Leo in the 1st house, positively aspected by Jupiter is. But again, whatever is this leadership can be slightly antagonistic to feeling safe as a country. Kind of scares me a little bit. Yeah. So that energy going into November suggests that something else is happening that drives any kind of leadership decisions that are made in the period of November. But the crazy thing is, post-election, a lot of this clears up through December a bit. Clears up a little bit. It's still kind of traumatic, but it clears up a little bit. But I find it really interesting how much things escalate into the elections, because the first part of this year is so intense. I don't yet know precisely how to interpret it or even how to absorb it. And if anything, I probably have to review the next few months to see how it fits within the bigger scope of this period through 2029. But July is really the pivot. It is really the midway point of this longer period. July 13th is the midway point of this period that I mentioned at the very beginning of this.
That goes to 2029.
Yeah.
Okay.
so we shall see. This coming election is not an insignificant one for how America presents itself to the rest of the world, good, bad, or otherwise. And what I would just say for everybody is that there is so much in the eighth house that is happening, meaning there's so much in this area of obscured stuff. And all of us might think we know, and even I have to hold back when I speak about it, like what I think I know.
Does that mean like the what's hidden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it just keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming out of the eighth house. And then you'll have like another, like so much weird activity happens in the eighth house from 2023 all the way to 2029. But especially from last year to this year, there was a lot of eighth house vibes going on, for lack of a way to say it, as the Greeks might say, that you should just be like, we don't know. Let's just hear the story allowed to unfold and work on our own personal stories. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, yeah. And, look at even just what's come out lately.
Yeah.
Stuff that we just never dreamt of. So
stuff we never dreamt of. And to the extent that we can give, like, when you hear, I think the only training that we should have during this period of time is if we hear something and we have like a reaction to it, make sure that you go back and review both sides, the full footage and all of that stuff, so that you can really try to bring forth the habit of making your own personal opinion about what happened and whether or not it even matters to your specific mission in life. Both things, right?
Right.
I think those things are how we want to listen to all people that and all weird secrets that come out as some of the congressional hearings come out on all the things that are happening.
Right. Let me ask you a completely unrelated. We've just got a few minutes left. You do financial or business charts too.
Yeah.
So what do you look for when somebody wants to know when's the best time for me to do X and such, or like you can pull a lot of different information from the charts.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I get a lot of times I'll get people, they'll have like a big meeting that's coming up and they're like, May, how should I think about it? And it's weird because every part of your life makes you uniquely able to give a certain message. I always say that at Spirit Fest, the clients that we get are the clients we're supposed to get. There's a lot of different seers and we all have a different personality and lived experience. But usually it can get as specific as like what, I've prepped some slides for the board meeting or something like that. What additional weird advice do you have for me? It's always like weird advice. And it might be something like, make sure that you understand people's motivations, because people are not being very, see if you can tease it out, because there's some things that you're going into this meeting and you don't know. So you have to be a little bit prepared. And then I might be able to give some color around the nature of how people are unprepared. In other meetings, I've been able to talk about, this meeting is more about conceptual. This meeting is more about explaining how precisely it's executed. And I'll tell you what you absolutely should not do, so to speak. So it can be stuff like that. In other cases, folks might ask me, listen, I've got these executives that I hired and they do not get along. And I can't figure out for the life of me how to come about trying to get them to get along. Can you take a look? And then I might have both their birthdays somehow, and I'll run the charts that are relevant for both. There's a whole body of charts that you'd run surrounding that, the nature of why they're having so much conflict. And there might be some guidance to provide in the nature of that conflict that could help. Like sometimes it's just like, listen, you got to separate these two, or you need a third person to come in that has these skill sets, because the two of them just don't have that. And that's why they're always at conflict. So it can be stuff like that. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that completely answers my question. And I've even said, not just about business relationships, personal relationships, family relationships.
Yeah.
It is really interesting to do the charts over each other to
It's
see
so
where
amazing.
the strengths are and where there might, be some type of strife or things like that.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And especially it's interesting because, New York is a very specific cross section of clients, and while I say that, then it's New York brings the most uniquely distinctive people from all over the world. But I love, I'm nomadic as a person, so I love going to different places and seeing different people. And what was interesting, one of your at one of your Spirit Fests, just to give you an example of how interesting it is, I was so used to the type of client that I was getting that particular time here in New York, that I brought a lot of like as a gift, I was bringing a lot of like obsidian, tiger eye, like protective stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, it was the St. Pete. It was the first one that I did for you. It was in St. Pete. And almost everybody in St. Pete was like, I was like, no, this is all third eye. This is all spiritual opening. And I'd never read charts like that before. I'd never.
Oh, that's neat.
It was so interesting. And I could see a lot of people's spiritual gifts. And I was like, wow, okay, let's talk about why you're not doing that. It was so interesting.
We unfortunately only have just a minute left. I could talk for another hour easily. So thank you so much for all of this clarity. Let's do this again.
Yes, whatever you need. It's so much fun to be part of your bigger extended family.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, Astrology with May, everybody. That's our website, YouTube, and Instagram channel. If you're looking for us, Spirit Fest USA, and we hope to see May at a show near us.
Yes, that would be amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, good. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Bye.
We'll see you next week. Thank you for spending this time with me here on the Sanctuary Network. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Transformation Network as we gather to share stories, wisdom, and practices that remind us of something essential. Sanctuary isn't just a place you go, it's a space you create in your heart, your home, and your daily life. I hope today's conversation sparked something in you, a sense of belonging, a new idea, or simply a reminder that you are not alone on this journey. If this touched you, please share it with someone who could use a little light. Together, we can grow this circle of sanctuary and inspire a ripple of healing around the world. And don't forget, the journey continues at spiritfestusa.com, thesanctuarynetwork.com, and naturalwellnessexpo.com. And of course, every week right here on Transformation Network. Until next time, may you be well, may you be inspired, and may you live fully in sanctuary.